Hello, YouTubers, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I have 5 articles for you in this episode, and I'm waiting to make sure that we've got the audio working properly before we jump into them. But all these URLs are in the description of the video for your convenience. Here we go. Waiting for it to come up here. There it is. All right. The first one we have is off of Liberty Writers News, and it says, "Whoa, Kellyanne Conway just went on TV and revealed the #1 reason why Mike Flynn quit." And there's video in this if you want to pull it up to look at that for yourself. It says, Kellyanne Conway came out on Tuesday and said that Michael Flynn knew that he had become a lightning rod. The decision to resign. Kellyanne Conway insists that President Donald Trump would have kept Mike Flynn if he hadn't resigned. The president is very loyal. He's a very loyal person, Conway said Tuesday. And by night's end, Mike Flynn had decided it was best to resign. He knew he had become a lightning rod, and he made that decision. The reason that Mike Flynn resigned was because he provided misinformation to Mike Pence and other officials. Flynn denied the discussion of Russian sanctions with Mike Pence, to which Pence defended Mike Flynn. "I have sincerely apologized to the president and the vice president, and they have accepted my apology," Flynn said in his letter of resignation. You can watch the full interview with Kellyanne Conway on a video here via USA Today that's embedded in this. It says, "We need to get this news out there. The mainstream media is trying to twist this and make it about the Russians. They seriously do not want to let this false narrative go, and that's because Democrats are dumber than a bag of rocks and more spiteful than a pit viper on cocaine." The next one we have here is off of BizPac Review. House Intel Committee launches investigation of leaks, says FBI. Better have a good answer. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes does not plan on investigating the circumstances surrounding the resignation of former National Security Advisor Mike Flynn, but will launch a probe into who leaked the story. Flynn stepped down from his post on National Security Council late Monday evening after it was revealed he misled Vice President Mike Pence about a call with Russian ambassador pertaining to sanctions. Nunes, whose committee was tasked to investigate the Russian involvement in cyber attacks during the election, told CNN the panel won't look into President Donald Trump's knowledge of the situation due to executive privilege. Republican confirmed to CNN the committee will investigate where the leaks were stemming from. Nunes said it's troubling the call was tapped with the information later being leaked to the media, adding he hopes to receive more information from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. "I expect for the FBI to tell me what is going on, and they better have a good answer," he told the Washington Post. "The big problem I see here is that you have an American citizen calls recorded." Off of BizPac Review, it says Trump offers National Security Advisor job to former Navy SEAL. Why? President Donald Trump asked retired Vice Admiral Robert Harward his next national security advisor Monday, but the former Navy SEAL reportedly asked for a couple days to think it over. Despite the delay, Harward is expected to take the job sometime Wednesday, according to a report by Foreign Policy. He's also expected to bring in his own team full of experienced national security professionals. Such a move would present a major shakeup in the beleaguered National Security Council, which continues to deal with fallout from former National Security Advisor Mike Flynn's resignation on Monday. I would think he would look especially to people he knows from his time working for the George W. Bush NSC, which is the National Security Council, from 2003 to 2005, wrote Foreign Policy's Tom Day. Harward is considered an ace national security professional with impeccable credentials. Prior to his Navy career, Harward went to high school in Tehran, Iran, and speaks fluent Farsi. He is known to have a close relationship with Secretary of Defense James Mattis, who made Harward his deputy when he took charge of the U.S. Central Command and put him in charge of planning a potential war with Iran. Ricks reported that Mattis urged Harward to take the role. With Harward as National Security Advisor, Mattis would have two key allies in the Trump administration, the other being Secretary of Homeland Security John Kelly. Contrary to his predecessor, Harward prefers to keep a low profile, which could be a major reason why the Trump administration offered him the job. And that we have here is off of, and it says, Labor pick Puzder in consideration amid controversy. And there's some video in this if you want to pull that up to view it. It says fast food chain CEO Andrew Puzder withdrew from consideration for Labor Secretary Wednesday afternoon amid mounting controversy over his personal and professional past. Puzder issued a statement removing his name on the eve of his scheduled Senate hearing, where lawmakers on both sides of the aisle were preparing for tough questioning. After careful consideration and discussions with my family, I'm withdrawing my nomination for Secretary of Labor, he said in the statement. I am honored to have been considered by President Donald Trump to lead the Department of Labor, workers, and businesses back on the path to sustainable prosperity. I want to thank President Trump for his nomination. I also thank my family and my many supporters, employees, businesses, friends, and people who have voiced their praise and hopeful optimism for the policies and new thinking I would have brought to America as Secretary of Labor. Is the latest blow for the Trump administration, coming on the heels of National Security Advisor Michael Flynn resigning amid a controversy over his past contact with the Russian ambassador. Puzder's problems have been mounting for weeks, trading as several Senate Republicans made clear they were withdrawing support ahead of his previously scheduled Senate hearing. Capitol Hill sources told Fox News that about a dozen Republican senators expressed reservations or concerns about Puzder. Their leadership, they were not prepared to support his nomination. Puzder's high-profile divorce, including past abuse allegations from his ex-wife, revelations that his family had hired an undocumented immigrant as their housekeeper, and his business background, all have cast a harsh spotlight on the executive. Not afford to lose much Republican backing since the GOP has a slim majority in the Senate. While several of Trump's cabinet nominees have faced tight with Vice President Pence even being called to break a tie earlier this month, Puzder becomes the first Trump pick to withdraw. A total of 3 cabinet picks withdrew from consideration under then-President Barack Obama, while 2 did so during the George W. Bush administration, and 5 withdrew during the Bill Clinton administration. While the abuse allegations from Puzder's ex-wife, and especially an interview she did with Oprah Winfrey decades ago that resurfaced in light of his nomination, have attracted the most attention, his ex-wife, Lisa Feierstein, has retracted those claims. She told Fox News in a statement that her privacy has been invaded as she lashed out at the media and critics of her former husband. But the issue has hung over his nomination. Before he withdrew, top Republican leaders said they supported him and were confident he'd be confirmed. I'm a strong supporter of Andy Puzder. I think he's uniquely qualified for this job, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican of Kentucky, said on Tuesday. CEO of CKE Restaurants, which franchises the fast food chains Hardee's and Carl's Jr. It is extremely unfortunate that the confirmation process has resulted in a qualified and dedicated man withdrawing from nomination. Leslie Shedd, a spokeswoman for the National Restaurant Association, said in a written statement, Andy Puzder would have made a great labor secretary. Others were eager to see him out of the running. Democratic ago had called on the administration to withdraw the pick labor policy stance. Given his relationship to his employees, he wasn't fit to lead the department responsible for defending workers, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders tweeted Wednesday afternoon. Former Labor Secretary Tom Perez on Twitter saying Puzder is unfit to be in charge of protecting workers. We need someone with a moral authority. Puzder, had he been able to survive the confirmation battle, would have been the first labor secretary in decades to hold the post with no prior public service experience. Been a strong supporter of Trump on the campaign trail. In addition to serving as economic advisor to the president, he and his wife also donated $332,000 to Trump committees and to the Republican National Committee. And the final article I have in this episode is off of Conservative Daily Post, and it says, exposed as a leaker responsible for feeding media of yesterday. When Trump was gaining support on his way to the White House over crooked Hillary, Reince Priebus was not a help, but a detriment. He was hell-bent on stopping independent media, which loved Trump, from getting any access whatsoever to GOP convention in Cleveland. And there's an author's note. It says, it happened to me personally. Even though it was the independent media that was exposing the lies of the fake mainstream media outlets like CNN and ABC. Preibus only grudgingly got on board the Trump train because to not do so would have caused a terrible loss for the GOP, even though some diehards like the criminal George W. Bush did not support Trump still. When Trump appointed Preibus to the White House chief of staff, many loyal to Trump were seeing that the swamp was draining, but the gas was still present. Now that Preibus has been found to have been the head of the snake that led to Army Lieutenant General Michael Flynn's downfall, that awful smell may be departing, since it is rumored that he's next on Trump's chopping block. Preibus has been as disloyal to Trump as he was toward the voting bloc and new media that rose to elect him. Sure, it was Flynn that chose to lie and put his own head in the news by discussing Obama-era sanctions with others and then denying it, but it was Preibus that has done everything in his power to undermine everyone affiliated with Trump. There are signs galore that Preibus is also eyeing the elimination of Steve Miller, Steve Bannon, and Kellyanne Conway in an effort to turn Trump's administration away from the swamp drainers and toward the kind of watered down and useless republicanism that has caused most of America to detest him. InfoWars has uncovered that it was Preibus himself, what they call red meat to the mainstream media, that he supported over the smaller and more factual news outlets during the campaign, just like it was Preibus who said Trump was isolated, a clueless child who was wandering about in a bathrobe, of which he doesn't even possess. The White House is in disarray. Preibus conned his way into the post by portraying himself as a man who would make Trump's ideas a reality and divided Congress. Been simply words used to trap Trump in the grip of betrayal. The agency chiefs and staff members that Preibus has chosen have been most of the people that America voted against when they sent Jeb Bush and Paul Ryan, little Marco Rubio, and even Chris Tolbridge Christie off from the debate stage. He chose, or try this again, the people that he's choosing to help Trump meet his goals are puppets who is firmly with Obama, Clinton, and those that have made America the exact opposite of great. Beyond that, Preibus trampled a promise that Trump made Rex Tillerson, which said that it was he who had the final word regarding the top nominations that were to come up, not Preibus. Instead of honoring this, Preibus gave the list to the president without even consulting Tillerson, a move that saw 15 choices given to Trump based on what they gave to Trump in donations, something that Trump did not know. Or try this again, something that Trump did not know that Tillerson had not vetted. In other words, just like he silenced pro-Trump voices at the RNC, Preibus tried to silence due protocol within the Trump administration and keep pay for play alive in the casino of the swamp. This is displayed beyond all argument by the fact that Preibus has, or try this again, Buchan be the ambassador to Spain, even though Tillerson was livid that he never got his promised say in how things needed to be executed as promised by Trump prior. Before anyone suggested that Tillerson is some kind of control freak, according to InfoWars, Buchan is a failed hedge fund manager and serial tax evader who owned a company that was part of a lending syndicate Trump sued. It rude of Preibus to suggest Buchan, but it was what Trump would likely call stupid. The corruption found in this above-sourced article outlined in 14 full paragraphs shows Buchan and his ties to Hunter Global Investors Offshore Fund Limited, which was put into voluntary liquidation issues with the Securities and Exchange Commission, the legal questionable Newcastle Investment Corp, and even the George and Sarah Buchan Foundation, which seems to be almost as crooked as the Clinton Foundation in many ways. From there, the facts only get more strange and untrustworthy, and when completed, it shows that Preibus, that for Preibus to suggest such a terribly mismatched and dishonest person to be an administration that is aiming for the utmost in honesty works to define why Preibus must be shown to the door. What America is seeing right now is not the failing of the new and still blossoming Trump administration, but more of a ringside seat to how good politicians get broke down from within their own ranks. The problem is not that Trump is choosing awful people, but rather that there are not enough good people and moral people in Washington with any experience who can be trusted to not be part of what has ruined the United States of America to begin with. Not many people have the experience that Preibus has, but with the level of corruption and filth that come with him, he's not just going to work for Mr. Trump moving forward. The swamp drains and the nation sighs a huge sigh of relief. Let us not forget that we need to remain ever on guard against the rhinos, neocons, and pay-for-play specialists who are hoping to get close to Trump since they assume that he does not know any better. The world is quickly discovering Donald Trump means to keep his word, and those that get in the way of such promise keeping will be given the Flynn treatment. In the case of Preibus, it can't happen soon enough. And that's all I have for you in this episode. If you like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs up. Share it on your social media so everybody gets to hear the news. And don't forget to subscribe, and that way you'll stay informed.